Okay, this is Rio Tinto, and looks a little bit messy because I've already drawn on it, but basically marked your high volume bars down in the bottom here as support lines if it ever gets there, and I've also just put this little downtrending channel connecting these two pivot highs here, and we'll just zoom in a little bit, and I've also put in this little uptrending channel that it was holding, but now it's broken out of, and it's currently crawling up the underside of that little channel there, which doesn't look that good, but I'll just have a look here. Okay, here's our previous area of accumulation. This looks like the May 2010 flash crash, and where the market was shaken out, and then it entered into a sideways consolidation pattern as they accumulated. Smart money buy on down bars typically and sell on up bars. So in this case, you see the volume's really high, and there's plenty of supply. Volume's really high, so smart money very active. But the next bar closes up, so it can't all be selling. They must have been buying there as well. It goes down again on very high volume, but again the next bar closes up. We get this bit of a 2-bar reversal there, and so there's a lot of buying in this area. Otherwise, how could if smart money was selling alongside the herd, then it surely should fall lower, but it's bounced up. So there's hidden buying in these bars here. But even though there's buying there, there's still plenty of supply, so I've spent time absorbing it. You'll notice as it's gone along, the selling volume's dropped off as I've held it up and just spent time absorbing, and that's built a cause for this last move up. And now that we've had this new shakeout that's occurred in the market, or on bad news, we can see it's come down back into this area again where they're accumulating before, and it possibly may even go lower into that area. But anyway, you can see where the higher volumes kicked in, but the bars closed on the high. So smart money again moving in. They're probably covering shorts, buying, holding it up. But one thing we do note here is that the bar previous was full of supply. They're both full of supply, but that one demand overcame supply as it rose to the top, so only buying can do that. But as it's tried to make headway up through there, it's been rejected, pushed back down, and so we've got the next bar is closed lower on low volume, but it's tried to go up on low volume as well. The next bar is tried to close lower again, but the volume's increased. That stopped it going any lower. And the next bar closed high, so they're buying again, accumulating again in that bar. Next bar's up, but it's off the highs as it tries to go through the area of supply. And then this bar for this week is actually a test. They're testing this bar too, you could call it test, and they're testing the supply in this bar here. And what they're finding is there's less supply now, there's less volume or less selling pressure within this area where there's previously lots of selling. So that's actually quite good. But supply is still high. I mean, that volume is still high. We want to see those tests on this sort of volume here, really low, light volume. But still, we've got less selling pressure within the body of this, within the range of this bar. But a test has to be confirmed. A successful test will have the next bar close high on slightly more volume. So we'll just have to see what happens yet. So if you're shorting, you probably would be very careful going short while we're in the range of this bar, but certainly your weak bar is going up. I mean, you had weak bars up here where we could have shorted. It's easy to say in hindsight, but sometimes you've got to just to show us. Then you've got no demand. That's an up bar on really low volume, it shows no demand, and it's followed by an up thrust, come off, and then we start getting up thrust into this area again. Again, we get an up thrust there, we get a no demand there in that same area, then we get an up thrust again, and then once it starts to roll and comes back up, back into this last high volume up thrust there, you get a really light volume, narrow spread, no demand bar. That's a very good no demand bar. You would have had this trend line in place as well, and that would have been a very good place to take puts or something like that to go short. So anyway, the signs were there before the crash, but at the moment it's still in this consolidation pattern, and they're either holding it up to redistribute or they're trying to accumulate again, and it's very hard to tell which way they want to go until it breaks one way or the other. And I might have a look on the daily. I'll just zoom in to the crash area, and there we go, you got your 3 days of panic. But you can see that it's a down bar, the volume's really high, but it's very narrow, so there's some buying coming in there. Next day drops through as supply overcomes demand, so plenty of supply. But then the next bar on the really high volume goes lower and closes higher, so that's actually really only buying can do that. And that's caused it to spring up, but on no demand, or no demand-ish. So they haven't really been interested in going higher yet. Let's come back and test it again on light volume on top of our climactic bar. It's gone up again, but on less volume, so no demand again as it tries to get past our initial down bar here. Up thrust, no demand. As she comes down, pushes down lower into our climactic bar, volume picks up and the closes compress, so there's buying then coming in there as those close. It's trying to push down, but it's getting resistance to the downside, and then it closes up. Up thrust a little bit, spends a bit of time there, and we get a down bar and really high volume, so they've tried to push again, and it's a very narrow spread, so that tells you all the sell orders are being satisfied with buy orders, and that moves it up. This narrow spread up bar isn't really good because that shows resistance now as it tries to go back up into our initial bar. So again, that's the opposite. So you've got a bit of countermanding signals there that's they're within this range. And the next bar up thrust, down it comes again, volume kicks in again, narrow spread as it pushes lower, and it's pushing lower and lower into this bar. So they really want to test the supply in this bar. But you'll notice each time on the lows, even though the volume is increasing as it goes down, the supply is less. So, but it's still too high, I think. I mean, if they keep pushing like that, then it'll keep breaking further down. Last bar was a really nice no demand, really low volume, but it's an up bar. So that's, and I think the whole market put in one of these on Friday. And I think they were anticipating the red day we had on the Dow. There's no interest to the upside, and so that should come down, and depends. It'll be interesting now to see if this holds again or if they try and push further into the supply in this bar. They're obviously wanting to accumulate, but they may want to accumulate at lower prices. So what we want to see is when it comes testing into this bar, we want to see volume reducing, but as it comes down, volume increases. I mean, it gets supported, but we want to see this sort of bar here, this really narrow spread bar on really light, this sort of volume, you know, really light, the lightest volume in 3 bars, and they'll tell us that the supply is really reducing, because they won't take it up while there's supply here, because they want to buy low, they don't want to buy high. So anyway, so this will come off back. That's actually quite shortable, but probably only to there at the moment. There's a little bit of wiggle room to it down, and then we'll see. Have to see if that holds or not. But the one thing we will notice is that these highs, this high here, we have a lower high here, and we also just put in a lower low as well. and this is going to end up being a lower high again. So this is still pushing down, trying to push down into the body of this bar. I think they'll need bad news. They need bad news. It's getting support, and if they want to accumulate lower, they'll need some bad news to be able to push it lower, because there's a lot of support there now. But yeah, we've put in a weekday on Friday, so that's going to come down, and then we'll see if they keep supporting on the line there. That's RIO. This is Santos. So it's been trading in a sort of sideways pattern for a while now. I've marked off the really high volume bar as support resistance levels. We've broken down below those now, so I've zoomed in on to the one closer to us, which is this one, and we've just broken below that, and now we're hugging. It's acting as resistance now to the price going back up. So we'll just have a zoom in on that one. And we've got this steep little downtrend here as well. I suppose that makes for a bit of a median line if I connect those two tops, or I can connect those two maybe. But it's pivoting before it even gets there, so that's showing a bit of weakness there now. But anyway, there's your high volume bar, where the high volume down bar, that's shifted the price, but it couldn't all be selling, because they supported the low. It never broke the low of that bar, and they spent time absorbing supply in that bar. And then as the supply reduced, there we go, some nice tests there. Lowest in 3 bars, next bar rise is slightly higher, and before the push, and you'll usually see that pattern before a push up, but whether you want to see that above your climactic bar. I wonder if they gave it to you here. You got high volume as it tries to push up. It looks like it's being sold into there, but you can see now in hindsight that they're trying to absorb supply at the top there. And we did get a test. Once they broke out, they did test the top of that bar before taking it up. They tested it again there, actually on high volume. But it's sort of been on a bit of a sideways. It's a little bit hard to read that one, because but anyway, it's been in a downtrend for a while now with the rest of the market. There's our climactic day. Actually, we had a really high volume kick in that week before then, and then closed lower, so that was a bit of a signal there, because if that was buying that volume, it should have gone higher the next bar, but it's gone lower on high volume, really high volume kicks in, and it closes high, and that's shifted it sideways again. Pushes down, it keeps pushing down on less volume, closes higher, and it's gone down now on increased volume, but it's closed them towards the high of the bar. So that's found support then within the body of this bar. And the selling pressure is less as it's tried to push down. The selling pressure is less than it was on this bar. So, but even though we got buying here, and probably even got some buying there and there, these down supply is still present, still a lot of selling, and they don't like taking it up while there's a lot of selling pressure. If they're bearish, they're redistributing and it'll drop. But if they're accumulating, they won't like leaving that area until they've properly absorbed all this supply that's still present. And the supply is still present, so that's going to stop price going higher until that's been absorbed. And so it's a bit hard there to again, it's a bit dangerous to short once you get to these lows where it's being supported here. It's a bit dangerous to short if you're too close to those. But possibly they'll try and push down to the bottom of this bar here, even to the $10.09. That could be a possibility. If the supply persists, it will drop further. if it doesn't start getting less and less now, then it will drop further. But let's have a look at the daily and see what that tells us. Okay, there's our panic selling bar, so I've marked the top of that bar. And there's one there as well. Where's this one come from? It's come further left. Don't know where that's come from. Oh, there it is. It's way over here. That's okay. So it's actually caught in the range. It all looks pretty much similar, don't they? It's high volume down. Can't be all selling because it's closed high. So it must have been buying in that bar. Really high volume. The next bar is closed higher. So obviously there was buying in that bar. That's what shifted this sideways. But we're still in this downtrending. I've got this green downtrending channel. I think once we got below there, we got oversold. But what it's done is shifted to the other side of the channel. And it's still respected that channel, and we've actually put in a weak bar on Friday. We had a no demand on Thursday. It's the lowest volume in 3 bars, up bar, narrow spread as it tries to get over there, so no interest in the upside. And then they tag the top of the line before taking it lower. So that's got to come down. I think they're anticipating the red day we had on the Dow. Our Aussie market's become like a bit of a futures market for the Dow, I think. We still follow the Dow, but we follow it like the futures markets follow the cash markets. So, and I think everyone was betting on the red Dow, the red day on the Dow, which we did get. And so that will come off, and you've got the middle of that channel there. That's probably where it could possibly come to. Or we've got these bars here, this narrow spread bar. So down bar on high volume, smart money buy on down bars. Narrow spread, so all the sell orders were being satisfied. Shifted it up, but no demand. So it could be that press down could as easily be an attempt to push down further into this bar as well, and it's had too much support to be able to do it. And that's the danger. What we want to see is really light volume in these down bars to show that the selling in the initial bar here is getting less and less, and it's not really getting less and less. I mean, that's actually more volume there than there is on the last pivot down there. So pressure has been applied. I think they are trying to push down to accumulate at lower prices. And while the supply is present, it's not going to go up, and it's still within its downtrend, giving you a no demand and an up thrust. And that's actually a good place to short on the daily, and you could probably, when you've got to the $11 probably at least, and probably you could target the middle of the center of the channel as well. But this you do have this background strength here, which is this really big down bar. But they will try, if they can, to push into this bar, because they've found a lot of shares in there before for cheap prices, and they'll try and hit that again, and they're succeeding because they're getting high supplies. They shake the market out, bring it up, lock in new buyers, shake them out, bring it up, shake them out, and they'll keep doing that until there's no selling left here and they can't take it any further down, and then they'll take it up. But if they can, they will break it lower, and they'll break it as low as they can break it down. And that's why we're watching for the light volume like this. See, we got that really light volume, but it was an up bar. That's no demand for higher prices. We want that sort of volume, that sort of bar, but as a down bar, and that's would be a sign of strength. Anyway, that's Santos. Okay, this is Westpac. I already had a couple of forks on this one, so I'll use Pro Real Time to show those. And I've got a big black pitchfork here, and I've got a couple of parallels here just to catch where it's been back testing. it's fallen short of the median, but it's back tested the parallel a couple of times. So what I've done is I've taken the distance between the median line and that parallel and just extended it down below the lower tine of the black pitchfork, because I think that's where it'll go. There's a little rule called Hagopian's rule, where if price fails to reach a median, it'll often take out the previous pivot, which it's sort of done in that case. It's a long-term fork, so it's long term, but often you'll find that the distance to the median there will be repeated underneath the pitchfork as well. So that's possibly an area that will come back to. We've got this red downtrending pitchfork, and that median line extended back, and the tines extended back. It's got some nice touches. So that's a 50% fork. I think I've taken that from the center of the I just anchored that on the center of the black pitchfork. That's given us some good touches. It's gone through the median, come back up. It'll probably looks like it's heading back to the median line anyway, short term, under the 20 bucks. I've got the circle there is the we're right near a conjunction between the red median line and the black tine of the pitchfork, so that's a possibility as well. Also mark this really high volume bar here, the bottom of. I'll just zoom in there, and that sort of framed the price quite well actually. It's actually the bottom of that one, which is the top of that one. I've taken the bottom of that one, and then it's broken. When we had the shakeout, it's broken past there. And the week before last we had a nice no demand. See, lightest volume in 3 bars as it tries to get back up there and up thrust. It's never going to get, because they become areas of resistance now, areas of supply, and it's never going to get up there on that sort of volume on no demand. So you could have actually shorted there, and you probably could have targeted the median line, because I think it'll get to the median line. You know, that's a test there. I might just switch back to my other software there and just zoom in on the weekly, and let's have a look. So I did see something quite interesting. Oh, here we go. We have this really ultra high volume area of congestion here. It's where it's sitting on top now, where they've accumulated in the past. So I'll just might put a line there just to mark the top of that area. Actual high volume bar, which one was it? I think it was that one there. So we'll mark the low of that. That's 1510, and it was also the high is 1731. So it's dipped back into that area now and found support. That's where it's found support. And just go. There it is. So that's where it's where it crashed last time. High volume down, but it didn't keep going down, so it must have been buying. Couldn't have all been selling. You'll find that ultra high volume will normally result in a change of trend, either sideways while they hold it up for further distribution before continuing on, or they'll be accumulated, which they were in this case. And you can see as they spend time there, the supply, even though there's buying there, there's really high volumes, that's really high supply, and suddenly the supply dries right up. No volume, no volume, no volume. They shake it out one last time before taking it up. That's what we're looking at. What we're trying to see in our market now, these really low volume down bars to say they've absorbed all the supply. And So smart money buy on down bars, and when they're ready to move, they support the move up. And but anyway, it's actually come down, back down now. It's been in a little downtrend. I might just mark, where can I mark? I'll just put a little Wyckoff channel there. There we go. The center line, and that sort of frames the last downtrend. Put my quarter lines in. So we're still in a downtrend, so there's no two ways about that. We've found support in this area. If they can, they'll try and break it into this area. I think they'll need some bad news to do it, but they will try to break it back in there where they were accumulating before. So they're accumulating there, then they were reaccumulating up here again. So accumulation, reaccumulation, and we're back in that area where they were reaccumulating. So hopefully they're not redistributing now, holding up to redistribute. But anyway, we have again a little bit of a shaker. We've got a high volume down bar, tries to go lower, high volume picks up and it's an up bar. We don't like ultra high volume up bars either, but there must be some buying in there. They can't all be selling. Next bar pushes down, tries to push up and down again on volume. It's not really clear what they're doing at this stage, but the volume is starting to get less. Then it's an up bar on less volume, so that's technically no demand. Then we get a really nice no demand bar right up here. And if I mark the top of that high volume bar there, or the bottom, sorry, should I say, that marked where it's supported the last time. That low is $20.82. That's where it's broken down from before. And once it broke there, you get a nice no demand that's very shortable on the weekly. And it's come down to test. There's less volume now than there was in these down bars here, so that's a good test, I suppose, but the volume is still really high. So while supply is present, they won't take it up. They'll make sure that they absorb all that supply if they're accumulating. So we'll just have to see. I might have a look at the daily on that one. Okay, I had this must have been an old channel I've had it in there. I've marked a really high volume bar here. It's now acting as resistance on the daily chart. Could probably put connect those two highs, I suppose. So it's moving sideways. So I'll mark the high of that high volume bar there on the daily. That was 1928. There you go. 1928. So it's caught between, it's in a little bit of a range now in between those two lines, and it's above, so it must have been buying in that bar because it's shifted the price up. As it's come down, it's supported. As it's come down a second time, we have a really narrow spread down bar on increased volume. So we like narrow spread down bars, but we don't like narrow spread up bars. And the last bar was a no demand, so they'll come back down to test that level again. That's at least volume in 3 bars. You'll see examples of them. There's a no demand. They did pop it up there, but that was a short hunt, I think, hunting for short stops. I think we had the no demand beforehand, and then they've collapsed and brought it back down, supported it, 2-bar reversal, but they haven't supported to move to the upside, and we're starting to get some lower lows, lower highs now as well. So that's but anyway, at the moment we're above our climactic bar, so that's good. And I'm not sure what we can do there. I think we can possibly put a line there, and we can probably short any weak no demand bars trying to get up there at the moment. If we see any weak bars trying to get through up here, like any no demand bars like we had yesterday, if we saw that up there, or even up the top there, which we are pretty close, you could short those, but you'd have to be, at the moment you'd only have a target of the 1928, because that's still supporting. I think they'd really want to get back down in there if they can and test that supply. They have tested the top of it, but on high volume we want to see them test it now on low volume. We want to see these really low volume bars like there, coming down on there on narrow spread. We are actually seeing the volume there getting less and less, so that's good, I suppose. But there's still supply present. What we really want to see for a longer term long entry is to get above the 2112 there, above this really high volume bar here. I think if we can break above there and then test on top, then that would be the way to go. But at the moment it's within that range and sort of getting a bit of consolidation there as well, because we've got a little sort of congesting a little bit. That's probably a bit too steep. I probably can't use that. But certainly we can use the bottom of the top of this high volume bar here, and this slope here, so that's starting to look more like a descending triangle as well, so we'll just have to see how that resolves. But anyway, Friday was a weak day, it was a no demand day, so that will come off, and that will probably come down to here. And if the news is bad enough, they'll use that to try and break it back into this channel. Yeah, so that's Westpac at the moment. But you know, if you bought Westpac at $18, I mean, you'd be making 8-9% dividends, wouldn't you? So at some stage, it's going to be cheap buying. What we want to see is this sort of really big volume on one of those sort of narrow spread down bars. And when you see that, that will mark a bottom for sure, because that means they've backed the truck up and we'll take it up. And they'll do that if news is bad enough. We may see one of those bag holding. We see one of those lower down here on a really high volume, and then you just buy everything in sight. But at the moment, it's just trading in a range at the moment, and probably more in a downward, still in a down trending channel, even though it's moving sideways, sort of sideways-ish. It's they'll want to test within this bar, I think, and they'll do whatever they can to test within this bar. So I think we see some really light volume going into this bar here, and that would be a sign of strength to tell us supply is being taken up. But I think the next move is down. It's the Dow again. They're anticipating a bad day on the Dow Friday, and we've had that. We've had a bad day on the Dow, so they're probably but they were setting themselves up short the day before. You could see them do it, and not on just Westpac, on just about everything. All the blue chips and on the XJO was setting itself up short, anticipating the red day. But anyway, that's Westpac.